The Process, a podcast about creativity and experimental music. In the world of experimental music, outcomes and accolades for creators can be uncertain and at times seem far and few between. Therefore, creators and practitioners of experimental music must embrace the one thing they will always have complete control over: the process. This podcast aims to understand this creative process by listening to new works and discussing them with their creators. Each episode focuses on one creator and their music. Understanding how and why they create can inform aspiring creatives and help audiences better understand and navigate experimental music. I'm Dr. Doug Bielmeyer, and I'll be your host as we explore the world of experimental music, creativity, and the human need to find purpose in their world and lives. This is The Process.
When I sit down at the modular, I'm really thinking of myself as a curator of what comes out. And this comes from my composition practice. I'm really into aleatoric music, minimalist music. Steve Reich and Philip Glass and Eno are my gods.
Right.
And so I view my role as a composer as creating the conditions by which the machines will generate magic.
Yeah.
And, there's some musical skill in that. I mean, it sounds like it's very hands-off, but I have control over tempo and the rhythms and the musical scale.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I'm using fragments of scales, which make the music result a little bit more ambiguous. Right. We'll talk about the quest for authenticity, but that began with the notes C, E, F, and A. And that was it. And, that creates an A minor with a flat 6, or is it an F major 7th, or you put that over a C or a D, it becomes a different chord.
Yeah.
So I really like this sort of ambiguous kinds of structures. I just love working with the modular because I haven't touched the bottom of the barrel yet. It's like every time there's something new and something that interests me, and I figure if it interests me, it's probably interesting to other people. Maybe 3 other people, but
or a whole group of people that do festivals
10,
and
20,
conference.
But that's it. And what's nice about working in the electronic music genre is there's no preconceived notion about what it needs to be.
Right.
At the same time, I tend to, in terms of basic process, Doug, I tend to record something or I'll perform it live.
Yeah.
And then I'll go and do an intense evaluation of what I did.
Yeah.
And then I will re-record it with more structure. So for me, when I'm in the zone and performing and I'm not really thinking about stuff, some very good ideas will come in. Often the presentation isn't quite, structured the way I want. So I'll restructure the piece. Yeah. And then I get to, distill something that I'm pretty happy with. So I find that process of playing and just improvising is helpful to me as a composer. And then I can go and apply things and think about, sonata form or theme and variations and apply that sort of after the fact. And thinking about the time and how to stage a piece so that it's interesting to the listener. So that for me comes after the sort of inspiration of things. So I'll record things 2 or 3 times before I'm happy with them.
You have then this listening or evaluation process. So what is that? What's the filter for that evaluation? Is it it's too long, it's too loud? What are the types of things that you find you're drawn to, or what's the process to sort of filter these ideas?
Well, in general, everything is synthesis and analysis, and then resynthesis and reanalysis and resynthesis. It's an endless cycle.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And no, I think, as again, I was saying, in the moment, I'm not so attentive to form because your sense of time when you're performing is just out the window. I mean,
Absolutely.
You think you're doing something 5 minutes and then you play it back and, that was only a minute and a half.
Right.
And,
it goes both. The time dilation goes both ways, right? Where
exactly.
Sometimes you're like, I've only been doing this for a minute and it's an hour has gone by, or vice versa. Yeah.
And there are things on the album that we'll talk about that are 9 minutes. And it's like, it doesn't feel like 9 minutes to me, but it got very hypnotic and you get in the moment. So the time dilation works both ways. But I think, in hindsight or in a separate frame of mind where I'm not generating anything, I'm just analyzing what's there, then I get to be a little more selective about, this works. This should be 32 bars or this should be, 1 minute. It's not always necessarily a timed amount of bars. But that I kind of get a sense for the overall form of the piece. Because again, in the moment, I can't see the forest for the trees.
Right.
So it's only when you're in analysis mode that you can really look at the whole picture. album started, I made the album with two people I worked with at Mercer University. They're both still there. I still work with them. So Kevin Farrell, who plays acoustic bass, and Sam Stauff, who plays electric guitar, but he is like a textural guitarist, and he's like a pedal board of about 20 pedals.
Right.
And his guitar sounds nothing like a guitar. I mean, on the album, it sounds like strings, it sounds like pipe organ, it sounds like, you know,
it's beyond
whatever.
Shoegaze, like beyond shoegaze. Yeah.
And occasionally you'll hear some guitar in there, but but you know, and he loves that. He's a huge fan of Jonesy, of Sigur Rós, and so he's really into the post rock kind of scene. He's got his own band, and but he's really great at textural guitar, and in addition, he's got a Teenage Engineering OP1, which he just uses as a drone synth. So he plays a chord. He uses something called a tombolo, which is kind of, I guess it's like an Italian lottery machine that spits out things. So essentially it randomly arpeggiates his chord and creates this lovely drone texture. And then he's also using a granular looper, the Kaleidoloop from Critter and Guitari. And what I play on the album is the modular rig, working with a sine as a main voice, but also bringing in some bell-like modal synthesis, like a marimba kind of sound. And towards the end of the album, I bring in a pluck sound, which is a carpless strong synthesis, so it sounds like a guitar, you know, or a harpsichord or something. And then acoustic piano.
Now, you said there was no real like formal planning before,
right?
But there had to be some sort of discussion. You know, maybe it was over drinks or during a faculty meeting or something like that, where you said, "Hey, was it anything more than, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we got together in the studio and jammed
did an
and recorded
an album?" That was it. That was honestly it. We didn't know what it was going to be.
Right.
I was still setting up the modular and patching. Sam comes in the room. Pro Tools is already in record.
Sure.
And we just started. And, you know, 67 minutes later, we realized we'd finally come to an end point. And we all just kind of looked around and laughed at each other because it was completely unplanned.
Yeah.
You know, so part of the challenge during that time was doing different stuff. And sometimes it changes pretty quickly. Some of the pieces on the album ended up being a minute and change. Some of them are 9 minutes long, you know, and they get pretty hypnotic with a lot of repetition. So
that's interesting too, because when I was listening, a lot of times I'm like, oh, now the modular has disappeared right now. So they must have had some cue to say like, oh, it's just the bass right now, or it's just this or that. And it was really sort of listening, like you said, so musicianship and listening, but also sort of, you know, hey, I gotta repatch this real quick, like take a solo.
But I didn't fade it in performance, and the other musicians heard me doing all this.
Yeah.
The tuning must have been hell to play with, but
right.
But you know, so
that's
the
interesting.
form of the piece.
Real quick though, so that's interesting. As we talk about like sort of the post-production process then is, so some of the things that you were hearing live are actually sort of been quote unquote edited, or like you said, faded 100%. In the final version. So because everything was sort of isolated, right? Like you had things on different mic ends and all that.
So we had 6 tracks, right? We had actually 2 tracks in the bass, 1 mic, 1 pickup.
Yep.
You know, I had a guitar track from the pedal board. I had the Teenage Engineering drone synth. I had the looper. Yep. I had my Eurorack as a feed, and then acoustic piano. Right. So those are the only tracks that we had. Now, some of those tracks are stereo, some are mono.
Sure.
So all of the form of the piece, and this really gets to the answer to your question, all of it emerged in post-production. Wow. It took us 67 minutes to record. It took me probably 100 hours to mix.
Right.
You know, as you mix, you mute things to hear other things, right? And I just muted the Eurorack during the bass solo in the 6th cut, following Your Passion. And I was blown away with how beautiful it sounded with
Right.
this reverse piano
Hmm.
and the guitar drones and the bass without the Eurorack. So yes, there was a utilitarian reason why I faded the Eurorack out during that point in the piece, but I also fell in love with the
Yeah.
ambient sound that it created. was a sort of a gentle kind of movement on harmonically with Sam and Kevin. And then the second time around, it gets stronger. And Sam has actually got a bow out, and he switches to fuzz tone, and it reaches this incredible climax. And then it just evanesces.
Yeah.
And you're left with the drones and the Eurorack. And it's just a wonderful moment, but it just never worked. And I what I tend to do process-wise is I'll start in Pro Tools, and I will up the revision letter every time I work on it. So I have a history from version A through B through C through D. We got up to Y, and I wasn't happy with it. We did Z, and we put more compression on this section, and it made that section better, but it didn't make the rest of the rest of it better. So what I ended up doing was just taking that middle section of piece 9 from the Z mix and inserting it into the Y mix. And that's how we solved it. And that happened in June of 24. So it's almost a year of mixing until I finally said, okay, this is ready. We sat on it a little bit. I actually presented on the album in Oslo and did a 6-minute excerpt in Atmos, and we're working on an Atmos mix now. The mix is done, but we're going to review it this month and probably release that as well. But yeah, so the album really didn't come together until I came out in physical form in February of this year. Right. So, it's just because I'm lazy, I guess, and it took a while to
it doesn't sound like
put that stuff together and to really feel like, I'm ready to commit this to a disc.
Yeah. There's that.
It was
ending
like a year
where you have to kind of like sit with it, like you got to sleep on it, kind of.
Right.
So it's done. Everyone kind of agrees, but you want to listen to it maybe a few more times, or let a week or two go by, sometimes a month, to just like, is this really what I wanted to say? And it
wasn't until we dropped that more compressed section in the middle of the nice dynamic mix that I felt like, okay, this doesn't make me cringe now every time I get here.
Right. I mean, it's acceptable,
and
right?
maybe I'm the only person that would cringe there, but
Well, yeah, sure. There's that, right? It's like no one else is noticing it. Everyone's like, well, this is a wonderful track, wonderful album, but to you, and I think that's important. I think as the creator, you have to just, be comfortable with what you're putting out, but that can be a double-edged sword, right? It could be, you're getting too particular and like you said earlier, you got to put it out. You got to put it out because it could just stay in your mind and your studio for forever. Well, Steve, this has been fantastic talking to you. It's really great to hear about your process. And I love this idea of it was a 67 minutes, almost 70 minutes performance. And then you used the studio as sort of another creative tool to shape it over the course of almost another year.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, tell us how we can get this album. I know, of course, there is physical CD copies of it, but the album will be available on Bandcamp and on streaming, right?
Yeah, I just actually today opened up a DistroKid account, so it's being uploaded to streaming over the next week. Awesome. People, if they want to reach out to me, they can email me at sward@mercy. I'm happy to ship copies. So far, there's not a profit motive here, Doug.
Right.
I've been giving these away. I brought 20 copies to the UK in June and just handed them out.
Yeah.
And I've been, performing at a couple synth meets and stuff and giving them to people there. I just want people to hear it and enjoy this. It is a different kind of album. I mean, it absolutely has improvised elements that I think put it in kind of a jazz aesthetic, and it's definitely got an electronica sound as well. So,
and we can also find more about just all your music and kind of these etudes that you were talking about at your YouTube page, which is I think it's Stephen B. Ward.
Prof. Stephen B. Ward.
Okay.
And I can give you a link to that. So that'd be a great way to hear some of the stuff I'm doing. And I also have a Tundra Ghosts. That's my solo project. I have a tundraghost.com website that is just getting evolving, and there'll be more about the album, The Quest for Authenticity, there as well. So.
Thanks to Steve for sharing his time and music with us. If you liked this episode, please check out other episodes in the series. And as always, like, subscribe, or leave a comment in your preferred podcasting app. I'm Dr. Doug Bielmeyer, and this has been The Process.